Hello everybody, welcome back. I am CrisTheGirl. Today we're doing something a little bit different. We're doing sort of a story time sort of thing here. I had a realization earlier today that it is May the 7th. It's May the 7th as of the time of this recording. And I always think about, on May the 7th, the fact that this is the anniversary of my back surgery. A day that will be etched in my brain for the rest of my life, apparently, this date, May the 7th, the day that I got my back surgery. So I have scoliosis. In case you all didn't know, why would you know? I've never mentioned it before. It's never come up organically before. And why would it? I'm not sure that it ever would. And I didn't initially set off today thinking that I was going to be talking about this to you all. It was just sort of a fleeting thought in my brain as I was looking at the date. Oh, look at that, May the 7th. It's now been 21 years since I had my back surgery. How about that? But I didn't think about making a video on it or sharing that story or anything like that. Until later today. And I could get into why and all of that stuff, but I don't want to bog this video down with that. That's not the point of it all. Anyway, I just thought maybe I would share it. Just because it's a fact about myself that I don't think a lot of people know. I'm sure there are a lot of you out there who do have scoliosis. Maybe if you clicked on this video for the first time and you have no idea who I am, hi, hello, welcome. What a video to click on. This is a whole channel, by the way. We got a lot more other videos besides this sort of thing. But maybe you clicked on this video because you have scoliosis and you wanted to hear other people share their story. I don't know. But I'm going to share it anyway. How much there is to say, I'm not really sure. I have an idea in my mind of what I want to convey in this video, but I definitely haven't given it like a lot of thought. I haven't written anything down. I don't have an outline of this is how I want this video to go, etc. As I said, this is sort of a last minute thing. As you can tell by how we're going along with this, it's going to be a very sort of casual thing. So this, I suppose, is my story on having scoliosis. So first of all, what even is scoliosis if you don't know? Essentially what it is, and listen, I'm not a doctor, but essentially what it is that your spine is curved, like significantly curved, which mine definitely is, very, very curved. And that's basically it. It really doesn't have any effect on my life per se. And for the most part, I don't want to speak for anybody else or anybody else's experience and what they're dealing with scoliosis, but for the most part, it doesn't really affect too much. You may have maybe a little bit more back pain than the average person. But really, it's kind of more... This was how it was explained to me. Things have probably changed. This was, keep in mind, 20 plus years ago. But from what I understand, it's kind of more of a sort of a cosmetic sort of thing. But I do think that it does give people a bit more back pain than maybe the norm. So for me, this all kind of started when I was a kid, as it does for a lot of people. But I was in middle school, and they did in school a scoliosis check on all the kids, which I think is a pretty common thing, at least in public schools, where they do a back check on all of the kids, like maybe during gym or something like that, a scoliosis check. You know, as you're growing and whatnot in middle school. So I do remember going to the gym, and I think you had to like bend over, and then I guess from there they can tell that your spine is starting to curve or whatever it may be. So that way they can hopefully like do some early detection Because obviously, again, as you're growing and your bones are doing their thing and forming, if they can catch it early and they can do something about it early, then they can hopefully correct it as much as possible. So that's what happened to me, I guess. In that scoliosis check, I had whatever they were looking for, and alerted my parents to it. And there's probably a lot of details that I'm leaving out on this because, again, I was a kid. I was in middle school, so I don't have like the best memory on it all. I guess we must have gone to the doctor, and then we must have been referred to a back doctor, and I guess we went from there. I don't know. Probably x-rays and stuff like that. The doctor that I went to was actually in Orlando. So at this time, I was in middle school. We were living in Cocoa, Florida. I do recall getting MRIs, or at least one MRI. I don't think it was multiple MRIs, but I definitely got an MRI. I remember that because I don't remember how early on in the process that was. It must have been pretty early on if I had to guess. But I remember getting an MRI, and that was pretty, it was stressful because the adults were putting a lot of stress on the fact that it might be stressful for someone, as MRIs generally are. If you have claustrophobia or just, don't like being shoved in a metal tube like a sausage, yeah, that gives people a lot of anxiety in general, claustrophobia or no. So I think they were kind of concerned on how I was going to take it. But at the time, I don't know why they don't do this anymore. Maybe they do on certain ones, but I was allowed to listen to music when I was in the MRI. So we gave the doctors a CD, and they were able to play it for me. And I guess I had earphones on or something, and I was able to listen to the CD while I was in the MRI. And the CD that I chose I think it was a best of George Harrison. I definitely remember it was George Harrison music that I listened to. So I always think, whenever I hear George Harrison music, I think of that MRI when I was a child. So yeah, but it wasn't that bad. Because that's what I remember is just listening to the music, and it's like, oh, this isn't as bad as I thought. And I've had an adult as an MRI. I've had an MRI as an adult, and yes, it is horrendous. It was one of the worst experiences of my life. So I'm not immune to MRIs. They are horrible. I don't know why that instance as a child wasn't that bad. Probably because I was a kid and I got to listen to George Harrison. Anyway, that's what I remember from that. I definitely remember tons and tons of x-rays. Basically every single time I went to the doctor in Orlando, there had to be an x-ray done, which makes sense because they want to check up on your progress and what your spine is doing and all of that good stuff. So I've had a lot of x-rays done in my youth as a person on this planet. I've had my fair share of x-rays done. I don't know how it escalated to this point. My mom would surely know a lot more than me. But somewhere in there, I guess it just, why would it get better? Maybe they had a little bit of period of time for me to grow a little bit before they escalated it to the next thing that I had to do. Or maybe we just went right into it. I'm not 110% sure, but eventually they decided that they were going to give me a back brace. And this back brace, I remember, it was humongous, first of all. This big, clunky thing that covered, my torso, obviously. And it was all made out of plastic, and like the outside was like hard plastic, and the inside was like kind of a soft is being very generous, soft-ish, like kind of styrofoam sort of thing. Probably much like a cast, if I had to guess, ish. Or like a brace. Like, yeah, it's a brace. It's a back brace. Duh, Cris. Wow, that was the statement of the century. So very much like a brace, but for your torso. And it was the biggest, clunkiest, most uncomfortable thing on the planet. I remember I got to choose what the outside of the brace looked like, and I chose like a denim blue kind of, it was literally denim. Like it looked like a pair of jeans on the outside. That's what I chose. I'm not sure why, but I did. And fortunately, thankfully, I only had to wear the brace at night. And I sure would think that I would remember that a lot more, like, because I had to wear this thing for a freaking year. A year of wearing this really hard, uncomfortable thing on my torso every single night for one whole year. And I swear to goodness, I don't remember that at all. I guess that's a good thing, ultimately. I just remember it being uncomfortable. I remember putting it on and just being like, I can't believe this is my life right now. I can't believe this is my life right now. And feeling like embarrassed, even though literally like embarrassed of what? Because I had to wear it at night. It's not like I was wearing it to school or anyone would see me, but I just like felt like I surely have to be the only child in the entire world who has to wear a back brace to bed every night. Like, clearly. Like, nobody else is doing this, right? Right. Keep in mind, everybody, this is way before social media. Believe it or not, way before social media, before any of that stuff. So, basically, your own trauma, your own thing that you're going through was your own thing that you were going through. You weren't going through it with anybody else. You were going through it by yourself. And especially for me too, as a kid who, I say this all the time, especially if you've watched the videos where I go back to my hometown and, you know, talk about my childhood and my life. I was a very shy kid. I didn't have a lot of friends at all. So I didn't really have like somebody to confide into, like somebody my own age to confide into or talk to these things about. I don't know. I just remember kind of taking it, just being like, okay, well, seriously, like this is my life now. So here we are. And honestly, I remember feeling embarrassed again. Like whenever I think back on the back brace, I think of embarrassment. Like that's the prevalent thing that I think of. Embarrassment and just kind of sadness of just like, this is my life, like as a child, and I'm the only one clearly who is going through this. By the way, that's sarcasm. Obviously, I was not. Plenty of other children have had to wear braces of all kinds. And not just at night, so it really wasn't that bad. But, you know, when you're a kid, it's pretty bad. The other thing that I guess I could say, too, is I was just hoping upon hope that dang brace was gonna do something. So the thought process behind it all was use this back brace for a year and see how much it corrects the spine. So had to do that for a year, still had to go into the doctor probably every month if I had to guess. Again, my mom would probably know better than me because she was the one taking me. I had to leave school early on those days. My mom came and picked me up, and the two of us went over to Orlando together to the back doctor, and they would take me in to do the x-ray, and then we'd compare it with I say we like I did anything. We compare the last x-ray to the current x-ray and then see how it was going. And I remember the doctor like making the lines, you know, with his pen and all of that stuff, and just hoping and hoping and hoping and hoping every single time we went to that doctor's office that something changed, that I just magically got better or at least improved, because the next option was gonna be the surgery. If it didn't improve enough, if the angle didn't start straightening it out. So, year goes by, and I guess before we get to that too, the other very prevalent thing about going to Orlando to this back doctor was that at the time in Orlando, they had a Donato's pizza, which is really, really good. If you've never heard of Donato's or anything like that, it's a pizza chain. And we don't have a lot of them here in Florida anymore. but they had one in Orlando and it was really good. And at the time, you like picked up the like all of the booths, all the pizza booths had phones. So it was this cool concept where you sit down at the booth and you have your menus and you figure out what you want to order, and then you pick up the phone on the booth and then ooh, you order in your food. This is so kooky and cool. And the pizza was really, really good. So that was our special treat after my doctor's appointment every time was we would go to Donato's together, me and my mom, and get pizza. So that was really cool because I think of those two things together, and the trip of going over there and having to do this thing like every month or whatever it was. I'm pretty sure it was every month. It wasn't so bad because we had this special thing to look forward to, this special pizza that we only got at this certain time in this certain place. So, good thinking, Mom. Anyway, it didn't get better. Spoiler alert, I guess. After a year, it didn't get better, and we had to do the surgery. Now again, once again, this was 21 years ago. I know for a fact that this whole process has changed, I think, drastically from what it used to be. So if you do have scoliosis out there and you happen to watch this, like if you're a kid watching this, Lord help me, but if you're going through this right now, I just want to say that this process has probably changed. I'm just saying this is how it was 20 years ago. It's a lot, from what I understand, it's a lot simpler now. A heck of a lot simpler and way less invasive than it is now. Thank goodness. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, so we had to do the surgery. It got bad enough. It didn't improve. We had to do the surgery. So I don't remember I don't remember a whole lot like leading up to it per se. There must have been some certain amount of time leading up to it and the prep for it and whatnot. I know we chose May specifically so I could have the most amount of recovery time before starting school. Now at this point I was in between middle school and high school. And that is really the only way that I'm able to remember when I had that surgery, because I know it was right before my freshman year of being a high schooler. As if all of that isn't traumatic enough. I have this huge surgery to be dealing with on top of all of those anxieties of going to high school. I do remember the morning of, I should say, because it was bright and early in the morning on May the 7th. And that's when I remember being pretty scared, being pretty dang nervous. The most vivid memory I have, I shouldn't say the most, one of the most vivid memories that I have is being there early in the morning, being very tired because it was early, and just being like, wow, this is about to happen. And I'm scared, as most people are before major surgery. Like, I just couldn't believe, like, this is, like, about to happen. Like, they're about to do surgery on me. Like, major surgery. Like, this is gonna happen to me right now. Craziness. Surgery happens. Obviously, I'm under anesthesia, and I remember being super groggy and tired. I know people came in to visit me. Oh, I remember my parents are going to be so mad if I don't tell this story. But evidently, I don't remember this, but evidently, when we walked into the hospital, you know how they have the hospital gift shops? Well, they had this huge stuffed bear in this gift shop, and I guess I must have noticed it. And when I was still under the anesthesia, I will say, evidently I told my parents, like, please get me that bear. I probably didn't say please because I was a child, but I want that bear. I think I said chop chop. I'm pretty sure because I was trying to be funny, but I was also drugged. So there you go. But they love telling that. They love that story because they think it's hilarious. And it is pretty funny. But I did get the bear. Thank you, parents. I appreciate it. Thank you. I had to stay in the hospital for a whole week. And that's the big part that I think is very different from how they do it now. Because I'm pretty sure now, don't quote me on this, do your research first, but I'm pretty sure now it's an in and out surgery. It's not, you don't even stay overnight at the hospital, I think. It's like a one and done thing. Again, don't quote me on that, but that's what I heard. So that's like wild to me because I was not able to move. I could not move for that whole week, basically. I couldn't take a shower. I had to have help to go to the bathroom. I was just literally just bedridden, like just laying in that bed, unable to move at all, and just under a lot of morphine and a lot of drugs. I had a catheter in me as well for a little bit there, and I couldn't do anything. I couldn't do a single dang thing. And that's what I remember from the hospital. I definitely have very vivid memories of the hospital because that was easily the worst part. I don't think anybody enjoys being in the hospital. I certainly didn't. I was very excited to leave, but also I remember leaving and that being very, very painful. And I remember trying to do something with my hair because I wasn't able to do anything with it for 7 days. It was just like a rat's nest, like up here. Like if I don't do anything with this hair, it is a mess. So I remember that and just being kind of embarrassed about that because it's like, oh my gosh, I haven't taken a shower in a week. Like this is awful. And I can't move. I can't do anything. I needed a lot of help. And when I got home, I needed a lot of help. I needed a lot of help showering. My parents put a stool in their shower so I could sit down and take a shower. And I think my mom helped me out for a couple days there too. And that whole summer, I was basically, again, kind of bedridden. Now, I was able to, like, get up and walk around and stuff like that after a little bit. But for the most part, I was laying in my bed in my bedroom all summer. I know I got, like, a special little pillow that they gave me that was, like, in the shape of a triangle to help me, like, elevate my back as I was laying down. I had to lay down a certain way. And yeah, I remember being very uncomfortable and in a lot of pain. I'm sure I was on a lot of pain medications. And that was my summer. It was a lost summer. Not that I was probably doing anything with my life anyway, but it was definitely just a summer of just laying in bed and watching TV and being absolutely bored out of my mind. So what did they do to my back? I guess I should say. They put spinal metal rods in my spine. So on the upper half of my spine, which is where the curvature is. I am actually going to get up and show you because I still have, trigger warning for anybody, I still have the scar on my back that's never going to go away. And then you can kind of see where my shoulder blade / ribs kind of stick out more than the other side. The curvature on my back is more between where my shoulder blades are. It's more up on the top half of my spine than near the middle or the bottom. I think the bottom has a little bit of a curve too. I can't quite remember, but I know that the metal rods are up at the top of the spine. And no, I get this question almost every time I tell this story. I do not set off the metal detector. That does not happen. So anyway, I remember that list, and I just remember laying in bed and just being bored out of my absolute gourd that whole summer. Cut to freshman year. Now, Music was a big part of my life at this point. Again, if you saw any of my videos on talking about my old hometown and my childhood and all that stuff, then you know that it was a huge part of my life. Going into high school in particular, I was very, very focused on percussion, and I was very excited about starting marching band and, you know, doing all of that stuff. And because I had my back surgery, I was not able to be on the drum line that year. That year I had to be in the pit ensemble, which is all the people that stand up. If you ever seen a marching band, they're all the people that are not on the field like marching around. They're up at the front of the field. They have like the marimbas or like other like percussion instruments or whatever. That was me. I was up at the front. So because anything for the drum line required like a harness to be put on top of your shoulders, and those things are very heavy, very, 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 very heavy. So I wasn't able to put that much weight on me at that point yet. Just fresh, just 2-3 months out, I just had my back surgery, so I wasn't able to do that year. So that was a limitation. That was due to that, but it was fine. I had a great time on the pit ensemble. It was challenging in the sense that this is where this gets hard for me, because this has been a really big insecurity of mine. The biggest insecurity of mine, pretty much ever. And it's not always been this case. It's certainly when I was a kid, when all of this was happening, when I was in high school and whatnot. As I've become an adult and as I grow older, it's not a thing that I think about anymore. I literally like never think about this. And also as you grow more comfortable with your body and how things are and such. But I was very, very insecure about all of this, because it wasn't a matter of, well, you just have this surgery and then you get better and life goes on. And no one has to know about it unless you tell them. Or if you have a scar, then you have a scar. But now that's it. I would have been happy with just a scar. I wouldn't care. But I didn't have that. Like I said earlier, the scoliosis thing, from my understanding, is mostly, if not at least partially, a cosmetic thing. If you go untreated, if you go throughout your life untreated of scoliosis, then you're gonna have more of like a hunched back. You can get like a hump on your back. That's kind of like the big thing with it. And with me, I kind of have that, but my back is like, slightly, I don't want to use the word deformed, but like, what other word is there? Like, there's no other word to say it. It's not straight. It's not normal. It's not normal shaped. So that's what it is. It's deformed. This was very hard for me to deal with as a kid, especially at that age. And it's really unfortunate, because that is the age, again, where this stuff usually gets detected. It's when your body is like forming, your bones are forming into place. So to go through not just your childhood, but like your teens, I'm a teenager at this point. The time in your life when how you look and not standing out is so important to you. You just want to kind of look like everybody else for the most part. you kind of want to just fit in for the most part. And you want to, you're concerned. You're concerned about your looks. How are you going to look in your clothes and all of that stuff, especially again as your body is growing and changing and all of this stuff. And I was kind of mortified by the fact that I had this hump on my back, on my shoulder here. And that was the source of just a lot of anxiety for me and a lot of not being comfortable in my body and my skin, which nobody, again, really is as a teenager, but this was like something different. And I just remember, like, I would have given anything in the world to just be normal, to just have a normal back. I didn't want to, I hated having photos, and I still do. Even as an adult. I hate having photos of me taken this way because I know I don't do it. If I can avoid it, I will do it. I've gotten better at it, but if I can avoid it, I don't want photos of me taken this way because that's where it is. That's the problem spot for me. This way, if you do it this way, you can't tell. I would always wear cardigans. I would wear sweaters and stuff. I would wear baggier clothes as a kid to kind of like hide it and mask it a bit. I wasn't able to really wear backpacks either. I did a little bit later in high school and college and whatnot, but especially in middle school and beginning of high school, I couldn't really wear a backpack because my shoulders would hurt so much. Tampa Jay's outside. My shoulders would hurt so much and I had a lot of back pain. So I couldn't, and they give you all these freaking books and notebooks and stuff that the kids have to carry around. No wonder we all have scoliosis. But we have all this stuff. We didn't have lockers. I guess I should say that. We didn't have lockers. So I got one of those roller backpacks. The backpacks on wheels, which was not cool when you're a kid, by the way. Not the coolest thing to have. And I just felt exposed. Like I just couldn't take it. I hated how I looked. I thought I looked like a monster. Like I thought that I was just, no one was ever gonna be able to not look at me normally. And you could say that is an overreaction, and it kind of is, but at the same time, I did have kids ask me, like, what's wrong with your back? Like, what's wrong with your shoulders? Your shoulder blade sticks out more than the other one. I remember one time when I was in band and they were fitting us, I think, for marching band outfits, uniforms. The band teacher came up and he was like, stand up straight. And I was like, I am standing up straight. And he's like, no, stand up straight. Now, again, this is in the 2000s. It was a wild time out there, a wild time. And he like pushed my back, like to make me go straight. Like, cause he was looking at me from this side, in which it looks like I'm hunched over, but I was standing up straight. And he like pushed my back to like stand up straight. And he quickly realized like, oh shoot, like she was standing up straight. That is literally how her body is formed. That is a moment I will never forget. By the way, he got fired after that year, so he was not a good person. That's a whole story for another time. It amazes me when I go back and I think about it as an adult compared to where my thought process was as a kid. Because when I was a kid, this was my all-consuming thought, was this hump on my back and how I will never be a normal person and how I will never look good. I will never look normal. I will never look good in a shirt at all, period. No matter what the heck I'm wearing, I'm never gonna look good in it, because this is all that I see, is this huge thing on my back. And it was my all-consuming thought. It was the biggest wish on my brain, was just, I wish I could just be normal. This was back in the time when, like, America's Next Top Model was like a huge thing. I watched that thing like religiously, that horrible TV show religiously, and it warped my brain in the worst possible way. Again, this was the 2000s, which was one of the worst freaking times to be a human being, to be alive on this planet, was the 2000s, because we were mean, we were ruthless to women. Everybody had to be really super rail thin skinny, and you made fun of people who were fat, you made fun of people who were different. You had to look a certain way to fit in and to not be made fun of. I should preface this by saying I did not get bullied, I did not get made fun of that I know of, or anything like that. So don't get all of that twisted. This is all up in my brain. My teenage brain. Just keep that in mind. But that was the culture of of our society in general here in America in the 2000s, was that. If you grew up during that time, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But I loved America's Next Top Model at the time. I wanted to be on that show so bad. I wanted to be that. That is what I wanted so bad. And it was crushing to me to, first of all, not be 5'6" feet tall or taller, so that automatically like casted me out of it to begin with. But then the fact that I knew that I would never do anything in regards to that, because I have this hump on my back, this deformity, and who was going to want me to like model clothes or whatever when I don't look normal, when I turn around and you see my back and it doesn't look normal. That wasn't going to be a thing back in the day. Now it'd be fine, and I don't think people would give it that much thought. But you know, I don't fit in t-shirts properly, I don't fit in bras properly, I don't fit in swimwear properly, I don't fit in a lot of things properly. That is a fact. Stuff like that was crushing to me. And by the way, I would probably be a lot taller if I didn't have scoliosis. So that really crushed me too. It was really difficult growing up with this. And again, it's wild thinking about it as an adult, because as an adult, this literally never crosses my mind anymore. And I don't know if that's just because I don't care anymore. I've got so many other things to worry about than that stupid stuff like that. Or you just get comfortable in your body and you just forget. I've had, again, 21 years since this back surgery and all of this stuff, and it's just like you just get used to it. You're like, yeah, that's how my body is, and maybe it's a combination of both. Yeah, that's where we're at with it right now. So this was very difficult for me to want to share with you all, because it's not something that I'm super comfortable talking about and sharing, because that was such an uncomfortable time in my life, and such an uncomfortable, it was just my deepest embarrassment. It was very embarrassing for me, and it's still pretty embarrassing, like no one's telling me to do this. I don't have to sit here and talk about this, so don't get me wrong here, but I also feel like it's important to share this sort of thing. It's something that I want to share. Obviously, we're here, we're doing it, because I feel like this can be relatable to a lot of people in one way or another. Maybe you don't have scoliosis, that's fine. Maybe there's something else that is very similar to this that you can relate to. Obviously, we've all gone through our teen years and such, and we have the same similar sort of stories where we don't feel comfortable in our own skin, and there's things that we were embarrassed about. Maybe you had really bad acne, or maybe you had like hair problems, or I don't know, whatever it may be. What a crappy time in life. And if you're a teenager watching this, again, like, don't worry, it'll get better. I promise you it'll get better. That is also one of the things that I wanted to say, is that it gets better and it's not that big of a deal, and it's okay. It's okay to be different. It's okay to look different. It's okay to not look the same as everybody else. And it's not anything to be ashamed of or embarrassed about. And I know that's easier said than done, because someone could have sat there and told me the same thing when I was a kid, and I would have been like, yeah, right. You have no idea what I'm going through. And that's true to a very certain degree. Thinking about it now as an adult, and I've thought about this every now and then as an adult, like, I don't think I would really change anything if I had the opportunity to. Yeah, maybe it probably would have saved my parents a lot of money if I didn't have scoliosis. Let's be real here. So in that sense, yeah, I would absolutely choose not to do it. But that sort of stuff makes you the person that you are down the road. And I don't think that that's a bad thing. I think that makes you, it's so cliche, like I hate myself for saying it, but it makes you stronger, and it makes you a different and unique person. And that's how I feel. Even though this is very, like, again, embarrassing for me, in a sense, and like something that I don't like to bring attention to. I guess that's how I feel about it. It's something that I don't really wish to bring too much attention to. And yes, I know I'm making a whole video on it, but here we are. I'm also giving myself the power in this by saying this, and bringing it to light by taking away that embarrassment, I guess. And by saying that, yes, I have this thing. No, my body isn't perfect, and I just don't care anymore as an adult. And I think that that's fine. I think I just said like 5 different statements in one sentence, but here we are. So I'm gonna do my best to like share this as much as I can. It's kind of hard to tell, but you can see how it's like, it sticks out. Like it sticks out. Like, let me show the other side. This is how my other side looks. So it's flat there, as you can see. And then here, you can see it's more curved. So I have no idea if you can tell or not, but it just sticks out more over on this side. And then you can definitely see the scar, especially down at the bottom here too. That's 23 years. 21 years. 21 years. Getting ahead of myself. So even with that, it's pretty hard to tell. Like, I feel like it's hard to tell on camera, like, what's going on back there. Maybe even in previous videos or whatever, you've noticed it. I certainly notice it. It's hard to tell from certain angles. I don't think it's really as bad as I feel like it is. There could be some body dysmorphia in there too on my part. Who knows? I don't know. But that's what that is. And I will always have scoliosis. My spine is not completely straight. It's a little bit straighter than it was before, but it's still not like perfectly straight. So yeah, I think I said everything that I pretty much wanted to say. Again, something a little bit different for the channel, but I thought that this would be somewhat of an interesting little story time thing here, sharing a little bit more about myself, a little bit more about my past. And I really, really hope that by sharing this again, that maybe it helps somebody out there. Maybe you can relate to this. I don't know. It's a very, very, again, like vulnerable thing for me to share with you all. But I'm very happy to do so because that's kind of what we do on this channel. Anyway, thank you all for listening and thank you all for watching. I really, really appreciate it. Hopefully you enjoyed it to some degree here. Maybe we can do more videos like this in the future. There's certainly plenty of things that I can share that don't necessarily fit with like us going to a location or locations and like doing things and such. So I could definitely do more videos like this in the future. So yeah, let me know your thoughts down below. I sure would appreciate it. We have a lot more adventures coming up, as I always say. Thank you all again for watching. And I'll see you all a little bit later. Bye-bye. Everybody, see you soon.